G'day, ZiggyD here, back with some more Diablo 3 for you guys. Patch 2.1.2 has just hit the PTR realm, and with it comes some pretty significant changes to endgame Demon Hunter play. And that's what I'm going to be covering specifically in this video. There are a lot of other changes in the PTR, and I may go over them in other videos in the future, but this is the one that has me the most excited. So this is all about the new Marauder Sentry playstyle for the Demon Hunter. Now this sort of falls into three areas of changes. The playstyle is now a lot more active. In short, you actually now play your class instead of playing Tower Defense Simulator. It is more risky, so you are at more risk with this new playstyle, but it is a lot higher damage. So these are the three changes. The style is now much more active, much more risky, and much higher damage. So now let's break down what actually makes these playstyle changes, what has actually changed in this patch that makes this so significantly different. Now there are two major sets of changes. The first set of changes is to sentries themselves. Now sentries no longer have a cooldown, but before you get too excited, the cooldown system has been replaced by a new charge system. So by default, you store up to 2 charges, and these charges can be used rapidly. It works exactly like Monk's Dashing Strike. So what this means is once you have your 2 charges stored up and you begin an engagement, you can chuck down your 2 sentries almost instantly. Now these charges restore at a rate of 1 charge per 8 seconds, so when you're in sustained combat and needing to reposition, you can only reposition or place an additional sentry down every 8 seconds. But when you first initiate and first engage a pack of elites or a boss or something like that, you can essentially put out 2 sentries really quickly. So you get into your maximum DPS much faster. Now it is important to note that custom engineering has also changed in line with this, and you can get up to 3 charges now with the custom engineering passive. So that means you can lay out 3 sentries almost instantly, reach your maximum of 3 sentries almost instantly now with this set of changes. Now the second set of changes is to the Marauder Set. Now the Marauder Set now has a 2-set bonus that says your generators, elemental arrow, chakram, impale, multi-shot, and cluster arrow each deal 40% increased damage for every active sentry. Now if you're using custom engineering, which you most likely are, that means you pretty much always have 120% increased damage, so that's a pretty significant damage boost. Now the 4-set bonus for pets that calls all companions to your side at the same time has not changed. There was a bit of worry with the data mine patch notes because this was not listed in them, or there was some weird listing things there that people would be worried that this part of the set bonus was going away, but don't worry, you still have all of your pets out, so that part hasn't changed at all. And then finally, the 6-set bonus has also changed. Sentries cast your Hatred Spender when you do and deal 100% increased damage. Now what essentially this means is that for your turrets to actually use your Hatred Spenders, you also yourself need to be attacking. So what this does is it does indeed put you at a fair bit more risk, because previously with the Marauders Set playstyle, you would place your sentries down and you would just run around avoiding things, not really needing to attack yourself. You could attack yourself to add a little bit of DPS, but it was kind of secondary to just kind of staying alive and running around and kiting yourself, letting all your sentries do the work, and that's what led to the very, very passive playstyle of Demon Hunter that people like myself really didn't enjoy. So now the playstyle plays much more like you were dealing the damage yourself. You just are dealing many, many times that amount of damage before each of the sentries that you have out on the field. So every time you fire a cluster arrow, all 3 of your sentries that are surrounding you are also going to fire a cluster arrow at nearby targets. Now I have to say, guys, this feels so awesome to play. I think you really have to jump on the PTR and test it out if you are interested in trying these changes. Otherwise, look forward to them on the main game, because I think these should go through. They might change some of the specifics of numbers and things like that to balance this, but I'm pretty sure this set of changes is going to go through because Blizzard wants the Demon Hunter to become much more active again. I think they were not really happy with the playstyle, and they did mention as such at BlizzCon. Now, it feels so good when you set up your 3 turrets now, and you set up your 3 sentries now, and fire a cluster arrow, and there's 4 sets of cluster arrows firing at enemies, and you just one-shot things. It's so much more bursty and so much more active feeling, and you feel like you have so much more control, and you're responsible for what actually happens in combat. It's essentially giving you like agency over what's happening. You actually are dealing the damage, and even though your sentries are firing like, 3 of the 4 cluster arrows that are going out, you're still controlling when that happens, and just kind of the visual and the feeling of this all happening at once. And as I said, just like setting up those sentries when you first engage, which you can do very quickly now. You can essentially go bam, 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 3 sentries up, fire a cluster arrow, just one-shot the entire elite pack, guys. It feels so good. So a lot of people are calling this a nerf, jumping kind of on the nerf wagon here. I do think overall it's a buff to Demon Hunters. It is obviously a much more dangerous playstyle. You do have to be much more active now in actually attacking to deal your damage. You can deal a little bit of passive damage by kiting around when you need to reposition, but most of the time you want to actually be attacking. However, I think the damage buffs significantly outweigh this, and I think for myself, the playability buffs to this, like making you feel so much more active and so much more entertaining to play as a Demon Hunter, is definitely a buff for me. I mean, it's probably going to be enough to get me back in and playing some Demon Hunter action again, because my mind kind of melted playing the previous iteration of the Marauder Set playstyle. So what other implications does this set of changes have? Now, I think Demon Hunter should be much more helpful in high-end groups now in late game. You'll be contributing a lot more DPS, and the fact that you're a bit more risky and can't kite around as much isn't really much of a big deal when you're with a larger group. So your DPS will go up, and you won't really have any survivability shift when you're actually in a group. So I think that's overall a buff for group play. I think you will also clear faster in solo play, but again, it will be more dangerous. That's something to watch out for, and something you might have to build around. Now, because they removed the cooldown from sentries and added this charge system, cooldown reduction is essentially useless. Previously, you would stack cooldown reduction to be able to get your sentries out a bit quicker and to reach your maximum DPS quicker. Now that you can get all your sentries out like almost instantly, cooldown reduction is essentially useless, so I wouldn't bother stacking any of that, and I would remove that from your gear wherever you can and replace it with more useful stats. Now, hatred is a lot more important since your sentries will only use your hatred spenders when you actually use them yourself, so you need to have hatred to spend. So hatred, cost reduction, and additional hatred are really important to get on gear now, I think. And then on a similar sort of note, gear that converts your hatred spenders into generators is ideal and kind of mandatory, I think, for this playstyle now if you want to be as effective as possible. Now, everyone's going nuts about Crider Shot. I saw Philosophius using Crider Shot earlier because it allows your Elemental Arrow to become a generator as well. Crider Shot's been popular in the past with some niche sort of specs, and this is like an obvious choice for this now because essentially you can use a Hatred Spender, which means your sentries will always be using that Hatred Spender whenever you are, and then you'll actually generate hatred still with that. However, for myself personally, I'm all about the Quiver, Spines of the Seething Hatred, which gives Chakram hatred generation. I personally really prefer Chakram to Elemental Arrow. The AoE on him is so much nicer, and I feel like the damage can be still really, really good. Now, one final note I want to make about gearing is that previously it was very important to hit certain breakpoints of attack speed with the Marauder set. Now, this was pretty counterintuitive and frankly like a massive headache to try and like work out these different breakpoints, and there was all sorts of Excel spreadsheet tables and stuff to reach certain breakpoints to be able to have your hatred spenders fire off at certain rates and stuff like that. Well, you can just forget all of that stuff now. Yes, so good, because what happens now essentially is that the scaling with attack speed for your hatred spending is now linear. So basically, the faster your attack speed, the faster you're going to attack, and the faster your hatred spenders will be used, because your turrets are using them at the exact same rate that you're actually attacking. What this also means is you can pretty much just equip the highest DPS weapon you have. It can be a fast attacking one-handed, which is what I'm using in this, even though Cluster Arrow would probably be better with a two-hander. I'm using it and still absolutely destroying things with like 8 or 900k DPS or something, whatever I have there. But it essentially means that you don't really need to worry about like not stacking more attack speed. You can stack as much attack speed as you want, and it's probably just going to benefit you really. So just throw on your favorite highest DPS weapon, or your Crider Shot if you want to go that route. Chuck on your Chakram Quiver if you want to go that route, and plop those sentries down and just dish out tons and tons of burst damage, guys. I think a lot of you guys are really going to come around and enjoy this playstyle. I think a lot of people are groaning about the change because they had grown fond or had grown kind of reliant on the previous playstyle. But I think I know you guys can adapt. My Demon Hunter buddies are we are a very adaptive bunch. I think us Demon Hunters. We've had to deal with all sorts of nerfs and changes over the past 2 years, and I'm sure you guys will adapt to this very well. And I think you'll grow to enjoy it even more than you enjoyed the previous iteration of the Marauder set. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I will make some more videos about the changes, and I'll probably put together a bit of a build guide as well for kind of a Chakram setup I'm working on for the new Marauders set build. Anyway, it's almost midnight here, and I am very tired, guys, and that's why I'm stumbling over my words. So I'm gonna go. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.